Okay, so this is a brief video, just talking about some of the tips that I found when I'm using some of these remote working strategies with my Year 12 class that I've been teaching at the moment. First thing is, I think it's always useful to have contact lists set up for your classes. Now through Outlook this is very straightforward because it's within the actual menu, but on Office 365 you have to dig a little bit deeper to actually find it. So in the little apps drawer over here, if you open this up, you should see one that says people. If it's not there, you'll have to just go to all apps there and install it. But if you click into people here, you'll notice it looks like it's going to open up Outlook, so you get the same logo in the middle there, but it opens up a little bit differently. So what you're now presented with is all your contact lists down the middle there, and a little area over here where it says new contact. Now if we drop this little arrow down here and open up new contact list like this, we can now add all the email addresses in. So for my particular class it was Year 12 product design, and I put in the year afterwards, so 2019 to 2021. I think this is just useful going forwards because obviously you'll have new year groups every year, so it just makes things a little bit easier in that sense. So set up that, add your email addresses in here, and it just means every time you communicate with the students that you can communicate with them all at the same time, make sure you haven't missed anyone off. The second little tip that I found which is quite useful is obviously when you're using Office 365 you've got multiple apps. It's quite useful to have more than one app open at the same time, so having Outlook and Teams and OneDrive and SharePoint all open up at the same time. Now it can be a little bit laborious if you're going to try and log in over and over again to different things, so what I suggest doing is selecting the URL, that's the website address at the top there, and copying it and then opening up a new tab and pasting it in. What that will obviously do is open up the same Outlook tab again, but in a different tab like this. But then obviously you can just click the 9 dots like this, open up the app drawer like this, and then open up another thing. So I have Outlook open at the moment, or people for example. I might open up OneDrive like this in that tab. So as you can see now, I've got OneDrive in one tab there, I've got the staff document library on SharePoint in another tab, and I've got my people or Outlook or whatever it is I need on another tab. It also means you might have other tabs for PowerPoint or Word or whatever it is that you're working with the students. The third thing that I've started to set up again with the Year 12s, which seems to be working quite well, is the sharing of documents through SharePoint with them, because then they become live documents. So as opposed to emailing a series of separate PowerPoints out for every single lesson, what I've basically done is, if we go into this one that I've called Remote Learning Logs, what I've done is produced one generic PowerPoint, in this case for theory, which I called presentation. I then went into that PowerPoint effectively and just saved it as, and created 3 different copies for my 3 different students there. Okay, what I can then do is click the little dots on this side here, go to share, and then type in the student's name. So in this case it was Tyrese. Make sure Can Edit is open, because obviously you want them to be able to edit the document, and then click share. So in the initial setup it takes a little bit of time, but what it means is when you go into the student's work, what you'll see is the work that they've done, and you'll be able to offer up comments and feedback as they go forward. So you can see that Tyrese in his first lesson, what he done, or what he was asked to do, was to produce some notes around a particular topic. In this case it was enterprise in the design development products. So he wrote a couple of pages of notes there, as you can see, and just underneath I've put some comments there. The next task was to answer some maths questions. Again, I've given him a little bit of feedback. He's not quite got that right there, but that's in the box underneath. And the next question again was on tech push market pull on this question. Again, I've given my feedback there. Just going forwards, advice that we've had before about using comment banks and stuff in terms of feedback. You could obviously set up comment banks within this and kind of highlight the bits that they are or aren't doing or should focus on. Okay, but I found this is a really good way in terms of sending messages backwards and forwards and making sure they've got a kind of a log of what they're doing as they're going forwards. So that was the theory. I've also done the same with their NEA or coursework element effectively. So I just basically got these off of the school network drives. They're most latest updated versions of their coursework. So if we go into Ozjan's, for example, we can see his kind of current coursework in its state is. And again, as I've gone through, we can see the different slides, and then I've written feedback and comments about what he can be doing in terms of pushing this forwards. So it just gives a nice way that you can kind of personalise the learning for the different students like that, and giving them feedback and tips as they go forward. So that was just 3 little tips that I found from this week.